These are latest on implementation of Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association conditions of service a week after calling off controversial strike. The nurses have been speaking. We'll hear from them.
Also, fallout from the suspended Chief Justice press conference. This afternoon, we explore the consequences of her action.
Plus, Ghana Health Service confirms mild COVID-19 outbreak on the University of Ghana Legon campus as it urges vigilance.
It's good to see you here. This is News Central, and I am Kamini Amano.
I am Mawina Egbeta. The bulletin starts right now.
And our first story, Israel's ambassador to Ghana, Roy Gillard, has expressed worry about how the government of Iran has focused on misplaced priorities by investing in nuclear weapons instead of the socio-economic development of its people. Addressing selected journalists in Accra, he indicated that the current regime has proven to be destructive and oppressive, hence the need for a regime change. He has also been speaking about the ongoing war in Gaza. And right now, we'll join my colleague, Christian Yale, who's been interacting with Ambassador Gillard as Israel's officers here in Accra. Christian, what else can you report?
All right, Kamini, so the ambassador has at length been talking about the devastating consequences of the ongoing Israel and Iran conflict, which is, bringing about a lot of instability and even tension in the Middle East. And so I have him with me here actually to pose some few questions to him. He has earlier, like you indicated, mentioned, for instance, that the current regime in Iran has proven to be destructive and oppressive. Those are strong words that he uses to describe for which reason he believes there is a need for a regime change in Iran as soon as possible. You're welcome. You're live on TV3 Ghana. This is News Central. What is your position clearly on the ongoing conflict between your country, Israel, and Iran?
I thank you very much, Christian, and it's an honor to be interviewed by TV3. Let's put it this way. Regime change was not one of the aims, was not one of the targets of the campaign. The military campaign that we saw in the last 12 days was there to put an end to the Iranian destructive capabilities, to try to bring an end to Israel, either the nuclear capability or the ballistic missile capability, also the proxies. We believe we managed to cut those three arms, if you wish, the nuclear, ballistic, and the proxies. Regime change, to change the head of the octopus, if you wish, was not part of the aim of the targets of the Rising Lion operation. However, I say clearly, if indeed there will be a regime change in Iran, Israel will not shed any tears. This regime that took over in 1979 is an oppressive one. I think the people in Iran has the right to ask themselves very serious questions. The 90 million people who live in Iran, where did all our money go? How come our economy is broken? How come there is no electricity? How come unemployment is so big? How come income is so low? A state that is leaning on so much energy resources, one of the biggest oil resources in the world, was investing all the welfare of the money in developing nuclear industry, in developing ballistic industry, in financing proxies that were so far from Iran. And obviously now it's quite clear that all this money was wasted. Instead of investing the money in the social welfare, in the economic welfare, or the 90 million people who live in Iran, I think the Iranian people are going to ask themselves serious questions. However, Iran is not a democracy. Iran is the regime in Iran is an oppressive one.
So I mean,
let me just finish. We saw already in the past, whenever the people tried to demonstrate, unfortunately, it ended with a lot of violence, and people are afraid, and I understand it.
People are afraid, and you understand it. You described the regime to be very oppressive and one that is not focusing on the developmental needs of the people. What is the interest of Israel in all of this, and what is your target, should I ask you?
Israeli interest is that there will be peace, stability, and prosperity in the Middle East. Iran was working to destabilize the Middle East because of religious reasons, because of political reasons, because of many reasons. Since 1979, since they took over Iran, they were working day in and day out to destabilize the Middle East, mainly through the proxies, through Hezbollah in Lebanon, through Hamas in Gaza, through the militias in Iraq, through Syria, and through the Houthis in Yemen. They were working day in and day out to destabilize the Middle East. In that sense, these campaigns that just ended a few years ago, I think it's a few days ago, exactly. I believe when Israel, as everybody can see now, had the upper hand, can really send a strong lesson to the Iranians that they need to concentrate in their own business, not to mess around anymore in the Middle East issues. And in that sense, I believe that what we did should also be the interest of every decent party who would like to see a stable Middle East, whether it is Egypt, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Kuwait, Jordan, you name it. Also in Europe and in Africa, by the way, and in Ghana. Any state in the world who would like to see peace, stability, and tranquility all over the world, let alone in the Middle East, should be happy with the outcome of this campaign, Rising Lion, and hope that Iran really learned the lesson.
Are you ready maybe to wrap up on this conversation? Is Israel in a position to accept a ceasefire deal for once and for good? And especially maybe you want to tie that together with your war with Hamas, for instance. You earlier made a point that you did not take Hamas as seriously as you're taking Iran right now. People are dying indeed, and these are some of the things that are, driving conversation. Are you ready for a ceasefire deal to end everything for once? You say your interest is peace. Do you really want to pursue peace at this point?
We are engaged in two different campaigns. With the Iranians, I hope that this ceasefire will last for long. The case of Hamas is a different one. We don't have much time, but we do not believe that we can live next to a poisonous snake, if you wish, which is the Hamas next to us. They took us by surprise on the 7th of October 23. We lost 1,200 people. Since then, we lost another 800 soldiers in the war. 250 of our people were hijacked, were kidnapped into Gaza. We still have 50 people there, hostages in the dungeons of Gaza. We believe that we cannot live next to people that are calling for our destruction. It is either us or them, and it's going to be us. They will have to lay down the weapon. The leadership will need to leave Gaza and let the people of Gaza who would like to live next to Israel and not instead of Israel to keep on controlling Gaza.
And so you are in Ghana. You are the ambassador to Ghana. There are other countries, Liberia and Sierra Leone. One of the things or questions some may ask is that why are some of these instructive words coming from you who is in Ghana and also superseding over issues in Sierra Leone and Liberia?
I'm not sure I understood the question.
My question is, why are some of these coming from you? Why this press? Why this initiative to talk to us about some of these things that you are doing and the conflict ongoing between you and these other two countries or the campaigns?
I think it's quite clear. We are here to represent the interest of Israel in Ghana, Liberia, and Sierra Leone.
Our Christian Yale there in a conversation with Israel's ambassador to Ghana, Roy Gillard. We'll now turn attention to the health sector because the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association on June 13th suspended its nationwide strike after an intervention by the Parliamentary Select Committee on Health. The strike, which was to protest delays in implementing agreed conditions of service, significantly disrupted healthcare delivery across the country. Following the suspension, the association expressed hope that the parliamentary intervention would lead to swift and concrete actions from government agencies. The association issued a stern warning that the strike could resume if commitments made during the mediation are not fulfilled. Let's chat with our Labour Affairs correspondent, Danny Loku, who's been following the story closely. Danny, we understand that there was supposed to be a meeting between the association, the Parliamentary Select Committee, and the employers. What can you report from this meeting? Is it happening?
Right, so good afternoon to you, Kamini. Unfortunately, the meeting did not take place. Basically, the understanding we have is that some of the key stakeholders are not in the jurisdiction. The sector minister, we are told, has traveled, and other people or other members from the Parliamentary Select Committee are also not available. For that reason, the meeting could not be convened. And that really has sent some kind of anger to the leadership of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. And currently, they have decided that within a space of 1 month, they would expect that every agreement in the condition of service is implemented. Every content within the agreement is implemented. When they met the Parliamentary Select Committee 2 weeks ago, that's on the 12th and 13th of June, there were 4 major items that they agreed on. One, the first one has to do with book and research allowance. They also talked about 8% non-basic allowance and then also fuel and uniform allowances. But unfortunately, the meeting could not take place. And really, the people are much upset and expecting that the next meeting, that's 10th July, will be the next day for the meeting. That 10th July meeting should be able to resolve the problem. Or there's a possibility that they could resume the strike.
That is to say that they are going back to work to continue what they have been doing.
Yes, rightly so. They are going back to work. Ever since the call of the strike, they have been working with a full gleam of hope that today's meeting probably would have been able to resolve a lot of the issues that they raised. Because the commitment they had from the other key stakeholders, i.e. the Parliamentary Select Committee and also the Minister of Health, was that, and the Fairness and Salaries Commission, was that they have to meet today, get hold of the various issues, pick the issues item by item, if possible, roll out what we call payment schedule and see when those payments could be done. But unfortunately, the meeting did not take place. It has been shifted to 10th October, and they're expecting that 10th October should be able to resolve 4 major items. Beyond 10th October, the other items, possibly if the government is able to implement it by January 2026, that will be okay. But they would expect that by July close of July, then 24 items should be implemented.
Danny, I can imagine that they were very livid to think that they had to go all the way there to learn that the meeting will happen in the last minute. What does the leadership tell you?
Right. So yesterday they got a letter from the Parliamentary Select Committee that because some stakeholders are not within the jurisdiction, they may have to shift the meeting date to next week or to 2 weeks, and that's the 10th of July. And yesterday too was the day that they had their council meeting. But interestingly, all the council members have moved from the regions and they are here, expecting that they would have been in the meeting today before the letter came in. They are not too happy. They are very sad with what has really happened because their members nationwide are expectant. We are talking about an excess of 125,000 nurses and midwives. All of them are expecting to hear something positive from their leadership today. But because the meeting did not take place and it has been shifted to 10th July, they would have expected that government should be able to meet them and get the issues resolved. They believe that this is a spark of bad faith because they would have expected a long letter indicating the meeting will not. But for them to receive the letter yesterday, they believe that it was not too good for them. And for that reason, going forward, they would expect that some level of cordiality, some level of good faith should be present whenever they meet to discuss and their various issues.
Indeed, Danny, thank you so much for the reports. And Danny Loku is our Labour Affairs correspondent. We can take a listen to Perpetual Owusu, who is the president of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association.
Who are currently unavoidably outside the jurisdiction. Due to this development, the National Council of the Association at its meeting held on 25th June 2025 deliberated extensively on the content of the letter and wishes to state as follows. 1. The strike was suspended in good faith, and we expect nothing less than a reciprocity of same. The rescheduling of the meeting, in our view, is in bad faith, since it may further delay the implementation of the agreed items. We have, however, decided to give the committee the benefit of hindsight and still trust that their engagement with the Ministries of Health and Finance will be productive. Number 2, we demand the implementation of the 4 agreed items not later than July 2025. This is non-negotiable, and we shall advise ourselves if any attempt is made to further delay the implementation. 3, with the other items, we wish to reiterate our position that we are amenable to their implementation no later than January 2026. 4, we demand that these timelines are clearly captured and signed off at the 10th July 2025 meeting to avoid any ambiguity in the implementation schedule.
And let's move away from that to other important matters. And yes, the Chief Justice did truly address the country yesterday and alleged a lot of irregularities. Notable are the concerns of procedural violations as alleged by Madam Tokono, the suspended Chief Justice, in that emotional address yesterday detailed what she believes strongly to be procedural violations which must not go unchecked. Hence her decision to task her lawyers to seek a review at the High Court. Let's get into these claims by the Chief Justice. Then we get some perspective on them as well, and get an understanding of really what it is that we're learning of from the Chief Justice this afternoon. Bits and pieces you've heard already, but truly, let's try and walk you through what these violations are, and some of which we've brought you details of, because you recall in her supplementary affidavit at the Supreme Court, which was struck out upon the request of the Attorney General, or upon the protests of the Attorney General when that proceeding was ongoing, particularly on the subject matter of her injunction application on the ongoing process by the Article 146 committee. And so some of it we've heard, but we'll go through nonetheless. And the first, amongst many other things, that the committee's refusal in breach of what she says is the rules of natural justice to recognize her counsel on the first day of proceeding. Also, she says that the committees failed to indicate the specific allegations in respect of which a prima facie case has been established against her, as well as the reasons for same. Then she, amongst many other things as well, raises concerns about the committee's decision to permit 2 of the petitioners, that's Daniel Ofori and then Shining Stars, not to testify. And we'll get further details and particulars of these procedural breaches she alleges shortly, still here. But she, amongst many other things, again, makes an argument that her family has been denied access to the hearing room, either a husband or a close relative of hers, and that a thorough search on her body and handbags, which she argues is in violation of protocols and courtesies extended to her as Chief Justice in the country, and when she's out on international assignment as well, she's never searched, and so she's found it quite strange why she's been searched during the processes of this committee. The last one, the conduct of the hearing in a cordon high security zone on Castle Drive, and she mentions Edu Lodge to be specific. But here's where she begins to get into detail with respect to what she argues to be procedural breaches as captured in the ongoing processes by this Article 146 committee. So she says that the committee has refused to give her copies of the petitions and the prima facie determination that the president is supposed to have made. Remember, when she went to the Supreme Court, amongst many other things, seeking to injunct the process, she raised these similar arguments that one, there not even be, she believes there's not even been a prima facie determination. The court disagreed with her, but she's brought these matters out to the open, seeking to lay them bare before the Ghanaian people. And again, she makes a strong argument that this forms a part of the violations of the procedures which she's seeking to bring to the attention of the general public. Again, she makes matters or raises concerns of no record of the petition or the petitioners, where she says that there's nothing before the committee confirming the petitions brought by these two petitioners, in that they are not going to be testifying. And so she's making the argument that where then lies the basis upon which she's been brought before the committee to answer questions and for a determination to be made whether or not she continues to stay in office. Then this last bit, conduct of proceedings in a typical adversarial litigation manner, which she says is contrary to procedures of a committee or commission of inquiry. And here she argues again that this committee, this Article 146 committee, as set up against her, has not been given statutory status by a passage of a constitutional instrument. And so she finds it curious that of the many things they are doing, they are issuing subpoenas, and by subpoenas, it's a legal process where people can be forced to appear before committees to testify. She says that there's no legal backing of the work being done by this committee, and so she finds it curious that this committee is able to issue subpoenas or force persons within government agencies to appear before it and then testify against her. Let's just end it with the last statement she makes, that within the regulation of Article 295 of the Constitution, she believes there's been no such powers given to this committee. Yet again, she makes the argument that the committee has been receiving applications from subpoenas from the petitioners and allowing the applications to serve as actual subpoenas. Let's go on the telephone lines right now and speak to private legal practitioner Abdullah Bestav Fusheni and get a bit more from him. I appreciate you speaking to us this afternoon. Do you believe, that's a school of thought, that the Chief Justice's public comments yesterday amounted to a breach of her oath of office under the Constitution? Because that's an argument that's been made forcefully, even before we come to the conversations as to whether or not really we can say there's been breaches thus far based on the work being done by the committee.
I think that it is fair to say that the Chief Justice's public commentary on the proceedings at the committee set up under Article 146 of the Constitution to look into the petitions calling for her removal are a breach to the Constitution, and particularly the provision of the Constitution that says that all proceedings at the committee level should be in camera. And so, and this is supported by decisions of the Supreme Court. For example, the decision in Ajay against the Attorney General seriously deprecates any attempt to make public what is supposed to be in camera in relation to the Article 146 committees. And
who is supposed to be raising these objections to her conduct? Because there's been others who've argued that the committee, which this 146 committee looking into these specific petitions brought against her, must bring in what they believe to be these breaches as part of the work they are doing and make a determination. Do you agree when anybody makes an argument like that?
Yes, also the Chief Justice herself has resorted to the law courts. She first of all appeared before the Supreme Court trying to vindicate a non-existent right, which right was not granted her. Never mind that she chose a forum that shares jurisdiction with the High Court, and the decisions of the court have been that where it is about the enforcement of a fundamental human right under Chapter 5 of the Constitution, the first course of action is to bring the action before the High Court. Now, the courts can be minded if their attention is drawn to the public pronouncement on the proceedings surrounding the committee hearing. They can caution the Chief Justice to desist from making public commentary on proceedings at the committee level in breach of the provisions of the Constitution.
Only a caution, that's where you believe it will be left at?
Again?
I'm asking if it will be left at only a caution, as some are making the argument that these are flagrant violations, and so perhaps a lot more stiffer punishment possible.
These are egregious breaches, but egregious breaches, insofar as it's facing an inquisitorial proceedings at the committee level, will have to stay abated until the proceedings are completed. You cannot, there will be too much of a burden to put on a person who is already fighting for her life at the committee level.
Let's stay on her allegations of procedural breaches. You've heard it, we've gone through some of it. Does she have a case when she says that the work of this Article 146 committee is not following laid down processes as decided by other constitutional instruments because they've decided to go via a litigation manner? Even when they've decided to do that, there are still breaches within the processes through which the committee hearing is being done. Does she have a case, or perhaps we should be waiting to hear from the committee as well, if that is even ever possible?
Well, the committee has been said to be an ad hoc committee in the case of Ajay against the Republic, against the Attorney General. And that case also deals with Article 146 of the Constitution. And that being so, in the absence of regulations to determine or guide the conduct of proceedings at the committee level, the committee is free to choose the procedure that they think can deliver justice in the matter.
But if the person in question believes that the committee's decision to choose whatever it is they deem fit violates her rights, she should be afforded the opportunity to be heard.
The decision of an ad hoc committee to choose a procedure that in its view can deliver justice in the matter does not operate to obviate the right of the respondent, in that case the suspended Chief Justice, from resorting to court if she believes that the breaches are so fundamental and egregious, such that they have to be looked at by the courts. And so, I understand that the Chief Justice, the suspended Chief Justice, is in the High Court.
Yeah.
And that is why I fail to see the propriety of a public engagement or a press conference. Because if you are in the court trying to vindicate a right, the public has no remedy to give you. It is the court that can give you a remedy.
Right.
So when you come to the public to try your case in the public, when you have a case pending in court, it's marks of, double standards. And it is not, it's not an action or, a step a former or suspended Chief Justice must take. Because he's not a politician who will appeal to the public to see her side of the story. No matter how the public sympathizes with you, they have no power to affect the decisions of the committee.
Right then, I appreciate you speaking to us. That's Inusa Fusheni. He's a private legal practitioner speaking to us this afternoon on rather interesting development. Never before witnessed in the history of the country, and so pretty much uncharted waters. Will continue to bring you the perspectives as they come through. This is News Central. A bit more stories.
Indeed, we'll stay on legal matters because the Office of the Special Prosecutor has filed an appeal against the High Court's ruling that acquitted and discharged Alexander Kwabena Safo Kantanka in a high-profile corruption case. Safo Kantanka, President Akufo-Addo's nominee for Municipal Chief Executive of Drabing in the Ashanti region, had been on trial for allegedly offering bribes to assembly members. The case stemmed from a viral video showing Safo Kantanka demanding refund from assembly members after his nomination was rejected. He was charged with 26 counts of corruption relating to attempts to influence the confirmation process. Despite the video evidence, the court ruled on 26 May 2025 that the footage did not directly link him to the alleged offenses. The judgment was initially expected in November of 2024, but was delayed due to the transfer of the presiding judge. The OSP, however, contends that the final ruling failed to reflect the weight of the evidence presented during the trial. Now, in a statement, the OSP said it believes justice was not served and has therefore initiated an appeal citing errors in both legal reason and factual interpretation by the trial court. You're still live on News Central. I'm Kamini Amano. We'll take our very first break. When we come back, up ahead on the news.
But what they describe as concerning
Mind your masks at this point and start observing COVID-19 protocols as the resurgence is expected in the city.
And you're welcome back to News Central. Let's bring you a bit more stories this afternoon because there's growing concern among students and the general public following a resurgence of COVID-19 cases at the University of Ghana Legon campus. The university's Health Services Directorate has confirmed several suspected and confirmed cases, prompting calls for urgent containment. While health authorities are urging calm, they advise strict adherence to safety protocols. Deborah Abamensa has more in this report.
It's back in the headlines, COVID-19, and this time the spotlight is on Ghana's premier university. On the campus of the University of Ghana, worry is creeping in. Students and the public are raising red flags over what they describe as a concerning resurgence of the coronavirus, with confirmed and suspected cases reported in recent days.
I hope it's nothing serious. I hope they can get it solved quick because I don't want to go back into quarantine.
When COVID came, you see how we were restricted on certain activities and the other hand. So that is my only concern right now. So the issue is that if it comes out that what they are saying is very true and it is rampant on campus, all activities are going to be held, like put on hold and other stuff.
We don't know what to do currently. We are just hoping to see how things are going to be done about it. Yes, that's what we say.
The Health Services Directorate of the university has issued a statement confirming the resurgence. In response, university authorities are urging all students, staff and visitors to remain vigilant and strictly observe preventive measures including regular hand washing, mask wearing in crowded spaces, and avoiding unnecessary gatherings. In the meantime, all communication regarding the situation has been directed to the Greater Accra Regional Health Directorate. Meanwhile, the Parliamentary Select Committee on Health is asking the public not to panic. The committee says the situation does not yet warrant alarm, but advises citizens to return to basic COVID-19 safety practices.
I'm not surprised at all at it. I don't think COVID ever left. COVID is with us. COVID became, many people got used to it. What was circulating were mild forms and therefore perhaps was not having any clinical effects. But remember, there's still that section of the population that is at risk. Rather than panicking and being afraid, we should know that we beat it with some protocols. And if we adhere to the same protocols, whenever it comes up, we will beat it again.
The university community is hoping for swift action and transparency to prevent a potential outbreak. For many, the fear is not just about health, it's about the possible disruption to academic life.
I'm really concerned because Corona coming back again, it's like, wow, are we also going to get infected? What is the school doing about it? Are the people quarantined or something? Yeah, I've been thinking about it lately, actually. And I just hope that they are putting in measures that will help us.
We are afraid of lockdown. We just came to level 100 and when lockdown comes, we are going to stay back home and we won't get anything to learn. When lockdown comes, we are going to stay back home and we won't get anything to learn. That's why we are concerned about it. So the institution needs to do something about it.
For now, the University of Ghana remains open, but how it responds to this resurgence may determine whether classrooms will remain active or not.
We'll stay on the resurgence of COVID-19 because the Ghana Health Service has confirmed a recent spike in COVID-19 cases at the University of Ghana, Legon, urging heightened vigilance and adherence to safety protocols. This development comes despite a sustained decline in cases nationwide over the past year. According to a press release issued on June 26 by the Ghana Health Service, the outbreak remains localized within the university community and is being monitored closely. All reported cases so far are mild with no hospital admissions. The service, in collaboration with Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research, is working alongside university authorities to maintain and contain the situation. Professor Joseph Humphrey Kofi Boni is with the Department of Virology, Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research, has joined us to learn a bit more about the situation. Prof, good afternoon to you. Is the fear of a resurgence of COVID-19 justified at this time?
Yeah, right. So, good afternoon. Yes, we can say so, that the fear is more or less real.
Valid.
But what we are seeing now, we can say that it's mild more than severe. So, yes, it's now being monitored very critically. And if it is getting out of hand, we will let know. But the interventions that we put in place or that has been observed previously, people have been sensitized to go back to that. So now people are just being careful, and the authorities are also more or less monitoring. If there's anything that is going beyond the ordinary, we'll just get the populace to be aware of it.
I see. How many cases has the campus seen so far?
Well, the Ghana Health Service will come out with the formal numbers. But what we can say for now is that we are having gradual rising number of cases.
I see. And all this gradual rise is within the university community?
Yes. I mean, mostly in the university community and immediate environs of the university. These are where the numbers are coming, where the cases are coming from.
I see. Let's discuss the science of the outbreak. Over the world, new cases that have been seen have been identified as new variants. Are we seeing the same with the cases we are seeing at this time, or we are identifying at this time on the university campus?
Yes, so far the cases that have come up that we have sequenced shows that they are the Omicron. They're the Omicron, and we have some subvariants. They are not totally new. That is why we are saying that they are mild. But you see, if we don't control the spread, then we have the likelihood of getting new variants. That is, if they keep circulating within the human population, there will be mutations that will give rise to new variants. So at the moment, our concern is to make sure that the interventions are being adhered to and we can control what is happening so that we'll prevent an incident where we have new variants coming up.
I see. Prof, since COVID-19 outbreak, latter part of 2019 into 2020, we know the kinds of issues that have come up since the world recovered from the major outbreak in the years I have identified already, I have named already. As we begin to see a rise, albeit within the university community, what will you say to the Ghanaian public at this time?
So like we said before, at the moment we are still monitoring. But what we can say is that we shouldn't forget what we used to do previously, making sure that those protocols are observed. We see people who are obviously coughing and sneezing. We stay a bit close, a bit away from them. We should go back to rigorous hand washing, that is personal hygiene. Hand washing under running water and with soap. Make sure that we wear our respirators or our nose masks. If we are feeling unwell, we should go and seek medical attention.
Right.
So when we do all these things, then we try to prevent spread.
But I'm also curious to know, what could be the reason we are seeing a resurgence?
Well, this is a respiratory infection, and if anybody at all can come in, and because Omicron is highly transmissible, it can easily spread. So it's possible. There were some activities on campus, that is university campus, that more or less people gathered. A lot of people came together, and after those activities, we saw a lot of cases coming from the university hospital. So it is not confirmed, but more or less we are thinking it was because of that we started seeing those cases.
I see. We'll leave it here. Thank you so much for talking to us. Professor Joseph Humphrey Boni is a virologist with the Noguchi Memorial Institute. We'll now turn attention to some other issues, but you heard the doctor. Take good care of yourself, observe COVID-19 protocols, and perhaps we'll all be fine in the country and contain the outbreak within the university campus.
A very important question, but let's stay on matters relating to health but far away from Ghana, because President Mahama has asked world leaders to consider the cost of B-2 bombers recently used in attacking nuclear plants in Iran and make a choice on rather investing its purchase costs in saving the lives of 500,000 children through immunization. Speaking at the Global Health Summit and Prosperity Summit in Brussels, the president, who doubles as a Gavi Alliance ambassador, says $9 billion is required to tackle childhood killer diseases. Hence, world leaders must make a choice of either buying B-2 bombers or investing in Gavi to save 500 million children.
This morning while I was lying in bed, I did the research. And I realized that one B-2 Spirit bomber that dropped bombs on Iran recently cost $2.13 billion. If you work the math, what Gavi is seeking is the value of 4 of those B-2 bombers. Surely the world can afford the value of 4 B-2 bombers to save 500 million children. It's a choice we have to make. It's a choice we have to make between taking lives and saving lives. And I'm sure that we will save lives instead of taking lives. And so, on behalf of the children of Ghana, I say thank you to Gavi. I say thank you to all who have pledged today. Thank you very much. God bless you.
In other news, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly has established a dedicated sanitation court to prosecute individuals who violate sanitation laws within the metropolis. The specialized court is expected to expedite the hearing of sanitation-related cases, market offences and motor traffic violations under the Assembly's jurisdiction.
Tackling waste management has long been a challenge for city authorities, with Accra alone generating approximately 3,000 metric tons of waste daily. Despite the institution of a monthly sanitation day, the city continues to grapple with unmanaged waste, market-related offences and poor sanitation practices. The mayor of Accra, Michael Kpakpo Aloti, has expressed optimism that the establishment of the district court will enhance enforcement efforts, particularly in decongesting the city and ensuring environmental discipline.
This court will help us run this city and get the best out of the city. And today, people in Accra will know that whatever you do, there's a court, you will go. And I pray that the Chief Justice will help us run the court 24 hours.
Speaking to TV3, Environmental Health Officer Florence Kuchi noted that the court will impose penalties including potential jail terms to deter sanitation offenders and encourage compliance.
Sanitation court, it is a district court, and the district court takes care of minor cases like sanitation issues, environmental health issues, food safety issues, and then vehicle and drivers offences. So if we say vehicle and drivers offences, drivers that go contrary to motor regulations on the street.
She further stated that environmental health officers will be conducting regular inspections of homes to ensure residents maintain clean and healthy environments. Madam Kuchi also urged all stakeholders, including market traders, residents and the general public, to acquire proper waste storage containers in their homes to aid in the safe disposal and management of household waste. Joseph Armstrong, Good, TV3, Accra.
And it's still News Central here on TV3. We'll take another break. When we come back, we'll bring you a few more stories.
spring a bit more before we leave you this afternoon, where Northern Regional Minister Ali Adolf has urged metropolitan, municipal and district chief executives in the region to work closely with traditional authorities to ensure that peace and security of their respective assemblies are maintained. He emphasized that the region is lagging behind in terms of development and tasked them to put in much efforts to improve the situation. The minister made these remarks in Tatale during the confirmation of the district chief executive nominee for Tatale Sanguli district of the Northern region. Let's touch base with Christopher Marco briefly for a bit more. Chris, how important is this particular caution from the minister? Any background or history as to why he's saying this?
Mawena, you know that, like he rightly mentioned, the northern region has witnessed some level of underdevelopment over the period, and he believes that decentralization is key in ensuring that development gets to the very core. And so he is calling on the government representatives, the representatives of the president at the local levels, to ensure that they work tirelessly with traditional authorities and other stakeholders to equip or drive home the needed development that these districts and assemblies require. And he's also been cautioning them not to be selfish, but to open their doors to people who have ideas that can support the development of the various districts. Now, the DC nominee and confirmed district chief executive for Tatale Sanguli also has indicated that she's going to, as it were, take or heed to the advice of the minister and work with the people to ensure that Tatale Sanguli gets the needed development. Let's take a listen to what she's been saying.
We're not happy for not having a DC as a D3 because the government have already kick-started. So today that we've got our DC being confirmed, we are praying that the resetting of Ghana should also start. And we are hopeful that with the caliber of person that have been confirmed, she can help in resetting the district in collaboration with the president to push the resetting agenda forward.
Yeah, how on say? Yeah, 24 hours because I couldn't phone the doors. Omo higher pa, omo biye.
Chris, thank you very much. Unfortunately, because of time, we've had to make this one brief. But Christopher Marco is my colleague in the northern part of the country. He'll bring us to the end of Regional Hub. Wrap up this. And that's how, is what I was going to say, that's how we'll wrap up this afternoon's edition of News Central. I am Mawena Igbeta.
And I am Kamini Amano. Thank you so much for your company. We'll be back here same time tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye from us.